Hey guys, and welcome to Daddy Share Space. So today I have my 6 track saws out here. I've got the DeWalt, which I purchased first, the Makita, which I purchased second, and then I purchased these Festool track saws in different order. I think I purchased the KEB, the newest cordless saw first, and then I bought the REB. I got it used from someone local, and then I believe I purchased the HKC, and then finally the TS60K. How many track saws does one person need? Well, obviously you don't need all of these. However, as I've taken this journey of basically growing my woodworking skills and learning about carpentry and basic repair, I have developed a fondness for track saws. Now, one of the saws that I do not have here is the Milwaukee M18 track saw, and I would like to get my hands on that and try it out just to compare it against these track saws here. However, I had made up my mind, and obviously you have to get the wife on board as well, that I was focused on the newest Festool track saw. So obviously if I spend the money on the Milwaukee, I didn't quite know when the new Festool track saw was going to come out. So I just wanted to kind of keep that money on reserve and wait until that track saw came out. And I almost bought the Festool Capex 60, which came out recently, and I almost spent my money on that, but something happened with my pre-order, so I didn't end up buying it, and I'm glad it didn't go through, because now the TS60 has come out. And I just wanted to show you these track saws before I move them all to the side. So that we can do an unveiling of my newest addition to my shop here at Daddy Share Space. And this is the TS60K. And let's just get right into it and open it up. This is not going to be a very extensive review. As many of you know, I am not a professional, and so basically I'm just, I am a DIYer. I do my own thing, but most DIYers don't spend this amount of money on track saws. That's something I guess unique to me. So anyways, that being said, let's go ahead and open this thing up. So first and foremost, you can look inside on the top view, and you can see what it looks like on the inside. Now, I did take out the warranty card and also the instructions, because I was kind of reading through the manual a little bit, so that is not in here. But let's go ahead and pull out and see what is in the kit. So we've got the track saw, obviously, which is here. There's also, this is the warranty guide here. You've got the screw, or the thumb screw for the actual splinter guard, which I have here. And you just have space for the actual extra blades inside the case. You've got, their basic literature telling you about you can access the quick guide through these through the QR code. You can also access their application that they have in both the iOS and also the Google Play stores. You've got the color blades that represent the different materials that this saw is able to cut. So let's get this container out of the way. And I'm going to try to make this little unboxing and overview as quick as possible. I'm not going to worry about the splinter guard or this little thumb knob, which I know the thumb knob goes in here. You've got this clear shield. I have to read the directions to find out if this actually pops up before you put the actual guard on, or if it just goes over the top here. So I'll look into that later, and if I see fit, then I'll pass that information on. But for right now, let's just move into this unboxing. I actually went to work today, and I just got off not too long ago, so I thought I would go ahead and do this. Now, I actually picked this saw up. I want to say Friday not this past Friday, but the Friday prior to that, right after release. I actually pre-ordered this online, and the when the 21st came, which is the release date of this saw, it didn't arrive. So, or it wasn't even shipped. So I contacted the company that I ordered from to see what the ETA was, and they basically told me it was like 2 to 4 weeks out. And this is day one. And I looked online and I saw that my local Woodcraft actually had one in stock. So I actually canceled that order and went over after work, and I picked this tool up. So taking a quick look at the tool, I'm going to go over here and then I'll try to come back and maybe do some B-roll footage so that you can see it in more detail. Potentially, I may. It just depends on if I have time. So you've got the fast fix here, which is on top. You pop that up, and then you let's see here. Oh, this is something I learned with my REB saw a long time ago. Right here, I have the actual the depth gauge all the way up closer under 10 millimeters. You have to put it down in order to get it to lock out. So that's what I didn't have it all the way down as far as on the depth gauge. So that gives you the ability to lock the saw in this position. It locks the arbor so that you could take the Allen key, which is inside of the handle here, and loosen the nut that actually holds the blade in. That's how you're going to change the blade on this saw, which is very familiar with all, or similar to all the other Festool track saws. Now, putting that back down, obviously the saw retracts back into the housing. Taking a look here on this back side, you've got the kickback stop, and you can actually actuate that or turn it on or off by pushing this green button. The kickback is also a feature that is on this right here, the TS60K cordless saw. This is the first model that actually has the kickback feature, unlike the original REB cordless saw, and also unlike the TS70K, which I have right here. As far as the speed control, it is located here, and it goes from 1 all the way up to 6, which is similar to most other Festool track saws. Looking on the side here, you've got the RPMs. It's a 13 amp tool. It goes from 3,000 to 6,800. It is called the TS60K. This particular saw is unique from the one that was actually released, which is the same saw released in overseas. They actually have a plug-it cord. We have a fixed cord that is locked into the saw, which is very different than obviously the TS70K, which has a plug-it cord which goes right here, and it is also obviously different than the cordless, which doesn't have one. Now the actual TS60K has a plug-it cord as well, the corded version. So this is the only track saw right now that I believe in Festool's lineup that has a full-time cord. It remains to be seen how that's going to actually change your workflow, because the way I'm thinking about it is, if you are used to using a cord or having a hose, maybe it's not that big of a deal. However, if you have a setup where you have like a Festool MFT and you have the boom arm with the cord that comes down, and you actually switch from your router to maybe your multi-tool to your track saw, and you're using that same plug-it cord, well, now you have to take that extra step and plug this in either elsewhere or into your, well, definitely into your vac to get it to power up your shop vac. So that, it's a little bit of a difference in the application. I would have liked to have seen a plug-it cord on this model, because it would have made it more compatible. I'm a person that has been considering getting the Festool boom arm, and this saw right here kind of leaves me scratching my head a bit, because it's just it's a little bit awkward. Festool's a system, and most of their things actually work together, and this saw is kind of like a little bit of an aberration regarding that. Now, if we look at the saw here, right, you've got the knob that you loosen on the front and then also on the back here, and that gives you the ability to pivot the saw, and you can pivot the saw all the way over on here. It stops at 45. However, there is a mechanism right here on the front of the saw, and that will enable you to go all the way over to 47 degrees. So you must depress this lever in the front to get it to go to 47. Otherwise, it will lock in at the 45 detent in the front. When you rotate the saw all the way back to the base, and it's sitting here on this little this metal platform, if you actually push in on this green button, it's got a -1 on it, and it drops the saw into a -1 cut. So if you want to get a -1 angle or -1 degree bevel, you would actually depress this one. When you lift it up, it pops back into place. That's a little bit different than what you see on the other saws. You've got your thumb screws here to be able to, let me go ahead and lock that back down, to be able to attach your track saw to the rail. And if you want to basically make it taunter or looser, it would be so like right now I have a little bit of play on this rail. So if I go ahead and I snug this all the way up on this side and snug it all the way up in the back, it's difficult to move the saw. So now what I want to do is just kind of back off a bit on both of those until I can move the saw smoothly, right? And I may come back just a hair more so that the saw slides smoothly, but it has no slop left to right. So there's that. Obviously the trigger to depress the saw, you're going to push up here, which releases the pin, and then you pull the trigger and depress the saw to actually make the cut. This saw does have a 1.8 millimeter blade, which is in line with the new TS55. I believe it's the FEQ, and then also the kickback saw. The REB model that I have over here, let's move this ball out of the way, has the 2.2 millimeter blade, and I believe the TS75 also has the 2.2 millimeter blade. Now, so that's a little bit about the features. Obviously, you got your dust port here. What else do I want to say about the saw? You've got your fine adjustment screw here. You would actually adjust the depth of cut by pinching in and lifting up and down. One of the unique things about this particular saw in comparison to, say, the other track saws that I have here, right? They all have one scale. These happen to be, I bought these all in the US, so they're Imperial. Now this particular model here, it has a dual scale. It has a metric scale. You can see that there. It has a metric scale on the left, and it has an inch scale on the right. Now, I saw this when I was watching Festool Live, and the one thing that popped out to me is as you kind of move this up and down, and you have your indicators here, you have your FS on top, and then you have your regular marking here. Now, if I wanted to say put this on 1 inch, right, it does not line up. So you would want to get something, I'm not going to go over there and get it right now. You would basically want to have a straight edge. This isn't a straight edge, obviously, and put it across here, but obviously you could be holding it in some kind of a you know, non-parallel level manner to actually kind of match up with the 1 inch marking or the Imperial markings on the right side of the saw. So I saw that as being a little bit of an odd design choice. It doesn't kill anything, because basically if I'm going to make a cut and I want to make sure it's going to get all the way through, I'll just put it deeper than I need it to, and I'll be fine with that. But I did think it was kind of odd that you know, without having a pointer that goes all the way across that helps you to reference, you know, the Imperial markings on the right side of the scale, you know, you may be a little bit off, you know, because I mean most people aren't going to take the saw, turn it around and look at it like this and, you know, put like a square to try to make sure you line it up. You're kind of looking over the saw typically, or at least that's the way I do it, and, you know, put it on the marking as you would want it to be, you know, and then secure it in and go ahead and make your cut. I don't know, maybe other people do turn it around and look at it like that, but this is how I've been adjusting all my saws, just kind of getting it there and doing what I need to do. So so that's that. Let's, you know, kind of talk a little bit about why I bought this saw. I have multiple track saws. I obviously did not need another one. That is for certain. However, well, before I go into that, let's talk about power. So the original Festool track saw, the TS55, the one that was out before the new 1.8, and I believe the 1.8, because there's no, or the FEQ, it does not have any upgraded internals. It just has the 1.8 millimeter blade, which is the thinner blade. It is rated, from what I found online, at 1200 watts. Now, I've saw many videos online that was comparing the TS55 with, like, say, the Mafel track saw, and the Mafel track saw, a lot of people say, you know, that was a very powerful saw, and they really, you know, just felt like it kind of, you know, overpowered the Festool. Let's just put it like that. So let's get into the numbers of what I found online. The original FEQ is, as I said, 1200 watts from what I found online. The Mafel is rated at 1400 watts. So it's a 200 watt difference. And we're talking about the Mafel 55 track saw, which, you know, so that's that comparison. By contrast, the actual TS75 has a 1600 watt motor, so it is more powerful, obviously, than the Mafel by wattage, and also the original TS55. The TS60K comes in at 1500 watts, if I have that right. So it's sitting in the, it's stronger than the Mafel. So it's going to take that pound for pound strength away from the Mafel, but it's a nice upgrade over the TS55 if you have the FEQ corded model. So that's a nice, you're going to have a little bit more oomph, but it is not quite on par with the TS75. So basically, you know, if you're trying to make a purchase decision, and you want a corded one, you have to decide, do you want to plug it? Do you not want to plug it? Does that matter to you? And then also, rating the saws from 1200 to 1500 to 1600 watts. What power range do you want to be in? Yeah, so that's that. Let me set this back to the side a little bit. Let me set this one over here. Now, so as you can see, you know, as I said, I have 6 track saws. Now 4 of them are, well, actually 5 of them. Now I have 7 track saws, sorry. And 5 of them are Festool track saws. Now let's look at this one here. And there's a reason why I'm pulling this out. This is the Festool HKC 55EB. It is, it's a track saw, but it's also like Festool's like construction saw. It does run on 118 volt battery. And this, what's unique about this particular saw, and the reason why I purchased it, is it works with these rails that I have back over here, which are the FSK rail. This is the FSK 250, and the way it attaches is it actually, you can see here, there's actually a lever here, and then on the bottom, just talking a little bit about the rails, these markings here are basically parallel for what a 90-degree cut. Now, if you want to move this and change it to a different angle, you would loosen this knob, and then you would move the actual marker to whatever angle. So now it's at 15 degree. And if I push forward on the, let me see here. Okay, so when you push it forward, right? And it is kind of tricky. Let me just see how that actually works. So anyways, so right now I'm at 0. You do see there's indents here on the rail, right? So it can go into these detents, not indents, detents, right? Now the actual method of how this works, right? I can pull it up a bit, and I can put it all the way up here, which is going to give me a 45-degree cut, right? When I actually depress this on the wood, and you see this angle here. This is a 45-degree angle from this set-off piece here to this set-off piece. Now, it can also go 60, if I pull it back all the way back here, and we'll look at the detents. So now from this angle to here, it's a 60-degree angle. So just to kind of give you a look, okay, well, let me go forward. So the way the saw actually fits, as I said before, you've got this area here, you've got kind of a bungee cord inside of here to slide the saw back and forth. The saw meets up with the T-track, and if we put it on, let's look at the bottom of the saw. So this saw will actually run on the regular rail, sitting this to the side, and if I put it here, you have to pull up the actual guard, but it sits right there on the rail, as you see there, right? So you can see how that sits on there. So you do have to pull this rail up to get it to fit, but then it actually runs on the rail, and you would adjust the saw appropriately to get it to slide. All right, I just want to show you how that fit. Now, the way that it works with the FSK rail, you slide it on, and it locks in right there, right? So it locks in there, and now, since we have it on that 60-degree angle, when I butt this up, it's going to cut in this direction, obviously, because of the angle of the bottom. And I'm referencing off of the edge of my bench here. Now, if I basically take this mark and move it all the way back to 45, and we reference again, now we're going in this direction at a 45-degree angle. So this gives you miter saw type abilities in a one-handed package here. And now this is my 90 when I reference, and then I cut forward going towards the camera there. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a overview of this HKC saw. One of the issues that a lot of people talk about with this saw is the fact that it is a 55 millimeter depth, or depth of cut, I believe. And when you actually try to cut a 2x lumber, which is what this saw is designed to cut, it will have the tendency to leave a little bit of a nib when you loosen the saw and you turn it all the way to a 45-degree angle. It is unable to actually cut all the way through 2x lumber. And a lot of people that purchased this saw had some issues with that particular situation with the saw. 90s, there's no problem cutting 90s. However, you can actually stall this saw out. It is not like the regular REB or the 18-volt saw that runs on 2 batteries. It runs on 1 battery, so it is, you get that kind of half power. Now, it does have the ability to cut through 2x lumber, but I was using it when I was doing my little fence project, and I did stall it out on quite a few occasions. So that long approach is to get back to this TS60 kickback saw. As I mentioned before, if you want a little bit more power over the original FEQ Festool track saw, the TS55, then you could go with this model, or you can go with the actual TS75, which is a lot bigger machine and a lot more wieldy to get around. But you do have a 75 millimeter cut depth on this saw. This saw here is going to give you more power at 1500 watts. It has the multi-scale. It does have the kickback stop, which comes over from the actual TS55 which one is it here? The TSC55KEB. It has that feature, right? Everything else is fairly similar. I mean, it's very close in weight to the original TS55, but this saw has a special trick. Now you see I've got the FSK rail, the 250. This right here is the FSK 420. Very similar design rail, as you can see. And the little trick up the sleeve of the TS60, that right there. You have the ability to attach it to the cross-cut rail, so that now, not only does the increased depth of cut give me the ability to cut through 2x lumber, it also has more power, being that it's a 1500 watt motor. So you've improved in multiple ways. So now if you wanted to, you wouldn't have to buy the HKC 55, which can come in a corded or a cordless model, and you wouldn't have to buy the TSC 55 saw. You could just go with this model, and basically you can use this right here is the FSK 670. You can use both rails. You can use both of these rails, right, with this one saw. So if you were new to the Festool platform, this is actually a viable option. If you were saying, hey, I want to get my first Festool track saw, which one should I get? If you don't need cordless, right, and you're okay, obviously okay, being okay with the cord, you can go with this model, and you're going to have a nice powerful saw. You're going to have increased depth of cut, and even though this is labeled the TS60, it actually has a 62 millimeter, I believe, depth of cut, because you lose 5 millimeters when the saw is on the rail. And that's why when you look at this, you got the HKC 55, you lose 5 millimeters, you got actually a 50 degree cut, which is fine for doing a 90. It's not okay for doing a 45. So there's that. I think I've said pretty much everything I want to say about the saw. I think the best thing to do now is maybe just make a cut with it, and that will be my, my first cut. And I think the cut I want to do, I think I'm gonna compare them all. That's what I'm gonna do. So let me see if I can set up a little cut station, and we'll cut with all of them, and I'll just, compare it. Just like this. Let's see if we can get this in the shot here. Okay. So first things first, what I'm going to do is make a cut, just a straight cut with I'm going to use the HKC, and then I'm actually going to set up the split 60 as well. This will be the first time that I've fired this saw up. Okay, and let's make sure this is plugged in. It's plugged in. Move this one out of the way. Let's get this out of the way. Alright. This out of the way. Put this over here, and I'm gonna pair up this Alright, so we're all paired up. We're at 0 degrees here, and let me just make sure I kind of got a decent angle over here. Get a closer look at the cut. All right, let's give it a shot. Okay, so we got this on here. This is my 90, and let's give it a shot. Obviously your 90-degree cut, you see it did not have a problem there making that cut. We're going to lock it. And then we're going to come back and make a cut and see how it does. Now, the reason why I'm kind of leaned over like this instead of having this closer to me is because I have my top angle here and I'm trying to get a little bit of this in that angle, so a little bit awkward, but let's give it a shot. So as you see here, you can tell there's a little bit of power issues here. But then also, if you look at the cut, I don't know if you can see that there. Let me see if I can take a picture so you can see what I'm talking about. So we can see exactly how much that actually came off. So then if I push it, there you go. You see it does come off. All right, so we've seen what the HKC55 can do. Again, like I said, I think this is a really cool tool. Just the way, it's well thought out. Super nice, especially if you're not leaned over cutting. If I was cutting more from closer to me, it would be a lot more of a better experience. But now let's go ahead and let's switch over to this TS60, and let's see. I'll give you my impressions on the power and so on and so forth. So first we'll do that 90 cut. Put it up here. Let's get it up there like this. Here we go. So let me go down to, let's see, this is 1.5, so let's put it at 2 to make it go all the way through. Further over here. I noticed that this saw, it sounds very similar to the actual TS75. It kind of revs up. It's a different sounding machine. I don't feel any struggle or any issue. It's making a cut. So let's do this 45. We'll check that out. And then I'm going to run the actual, the TS75 and then also this, the cordless saw, just to kind of get a feel for the saw. So let's go ahead and put this all the way over to 45 degrees. I'm loosening the knobs in the front. And I'm going to put it all the way over to 45. Lock it in, the front and the back. And then I'm up here on the rail here. Alright, so this is kind of awkward, I'm going to be honest, pushing it from so far away, but we're going to make it work. That's the reason why it's the TS60, so I got to go full depth. Alright, let's try it again. Okay, so we see that it is cut all the way through. There's no, nothing left. Right? Let's do it one more time just for science, just to make sure that you know. So what I think I'm going to do before I move over to the other saw, I'm going to do another cut with the HKC. So I'm going to go ahead and put it all the way over to 45. Alright. And I'm going to make the cut. So one thing is I didn't have this locked in, so let me block it in and tighten it back up. So I slipped to a 5-degree angle. Alright, so I'm going here, I'm locking it in, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a cut. Alright, we see it's still on there, the nib of the material. So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to make a cut here with the TS60 so we can cut that piece off and compare them. Alright, let's take a picture of this little piece so we can see, so we can compare. Well, actually, let's turn it over and take a look. And obviously, this is the TS60 cut. And you can see the difference. So the HKC cut is here, and then TS75 is there. So obviously they solved that problem of being able to cut all the way through. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this back to .90, and let's tighten it up. Take it off the rail. Set that aside. And what we're going to do now is grab this here. This is the, let's grab this here. This is the kickback saw. And I need to find some batteries. Alright, let's rail. And this is the 18-volt saw here. We're going to go max depth. So, I just cut right on through this here. It does. It's not squared or anything, so we're not going to worry about that. That um, it cuts smooth, it cuts nice, no problems at all. Let's come back and make a cut with the new saw here. And it's an effortless cut. I mean, what can I say? Now, let me see if I can find the cord to this big boy. And obviously we've got a way deeper cut depth. I'll just go down to 2 on this because I don't need to go all the way too far here. Let's hear that different, or hear the sound. Still a very, it feels a lot more aggressive using the TS75, to be quite frank. Let's move the batteries over and try this REB. Let's get it all the way down to the depth of cut. So before I wrap up this video, there's something that I want to say that I've discovered after using all these saws in this video. The smoothest cutting saw here is this Festool TS60K. Now, let me try to describe what I mean by that. You can tell the difference with the 1.8 blade on this saw in comparison to the REB, for sure. It's a smoother cut. You would think though, with this having 1500 watts of power and the TS75 having 1600 watts of power, that it would just cut through effortlessly and smooth. And it is, but there's a caveat. These motors, you can feel that it is adjusting to the wood. It does not feel like it's struggling at all, but you can feel the motor like actively doing what it needs to do to get through the wood, whereas it almost appears as though this 18-volt model revs up to speed and it keeps it at that speed, whereas the Festool TS75 and the TS60 seem to have more of a variable effect within the motor, as if, and that could be a protective feature, but you definitely feel it being transferred through your arm. It's not an uncomfortable feeling. It's just, as I have these saws here together, I would say both of these saws, the new TS60, the TS75, feel closer to using this REB in regards to the way that it gets through the wood. Not saying, I would say these cut more effortlessly, but there's some kind of a kinetic force that you feel that's going on in the electronics of the motors that goes back through your hand, whereas with this it almost feels as though there's no connection. And so when it revs up, it just cuts right through. There's no reservation, there's no hesitation. These don't hesitate, they don't bog down, but it almost feels like there's something in the electronics that is making it variable to the wood. So the way I would explain it would be as if you were cutting something softer, it would probably rev down, right? Or use less torque. But if you're using something harder, it would rev up. And it's almost as if you're feeling that transition of the way the saw needs to power through the wood. You can feel it in your hand. As I said, it's not an uncomfortable feeling. It's just something that I am noticing as I cut with these saws. Anyways, guys, this video is obviously going longer than I expected, and I have a couple of more videos that I want to do. I might do them this evening, and I may post them all this evening. We'll just see how gully I feel. But anyways, for this one, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for taking time to watch the video. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care.